Hello, this is your buddy George Jones over at the Bergen Gun Range. I'm put me a scope on my Ruger American. We're gonna see how it shoots. I finally got this thing worked out to where it's shooting right. Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. So let's talk about zeroing a scope. When I zero one, this is how I do it. I'll get me a 3-shot group on paper wherever it's at. And then I'll simply move the impacts like you need to go. Now this one needs to go down, so that's opposite of up. The clicks on these cheaper scopes are typically not 1 minute of angle per 100 yards of range, which is 1 square inch, that's a minute of angle. Okay? Are typically just on there to keep the adjustment from moving. That's the reason why there's a click on there. Oh, that needs to go right. Like that. Okay. And we can bring her on down a little bit more. Oh, there's just about where it needs to be. Now we bring it on right just a little bit. Now we're down to making the fine adjustments. Oh, that went through the same hole, looks like. Let's get another one to find out. Yeah, just a little bit more to the right. A lot of silliness going on right now, don't you think? Oh, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. One, two, three clicks. Yeah. Perfecto. So on these cheaper scopes, this one is a Borowski. Now Borowski is the probably a little bit higher end in the cheaper scope lines. I'm not sure where it's made, but it seems to be a pretty good scope brand. I've got them on 1 or 2 different things now, and I've gotten away from the Chinese-made weavers and so forth altogether. I think these guys are made in Russia. I think. I'm not sure. I looked all over the box looking for a made in, and I couldn't find one. But they typically adjust. You know, people think, well, you know, the book says 1 click equals 1 minute of angle at 100 yards. But typically on these economy price scopes, it's not that way. It's simply got a click on there just to keep that thing from moving around when you shoot it. You know, so you got to kind of eyeball it in. Hard to do it on the book that way. So a scope is pretty easy. You're just adjusting the crosshairs and the parallax. Sights. Let's talk about adjusting sights for a minute. People get all out of hack over it. I come over here all the time, people trying to set the sights on a rifle. and they don't know how. So this is the way it works. The rear sight is adjusted in a manner in which if you move the rear sight to the right, it moves your point of impact to the right. And if you move the rear sight to the left, it moves your point of impact to the left. If you move your rear sight aperture up, it elevates your bullet impacts. And if you depress your rear sight aperture, it depresses your bullet impacts. Now, let's talk about guns with a front sight that adjusts. Now, my little .22 rifle, that CZ that I'm so fond of shooting, it adjusts for elevation in the back, and it adjusts for windage in the front. Okay? An AR-15 adjusts for elevation in the front, but an AK adjusts for elevation and windage in the front. Okay? You got that drum in the front side post that you drive back and forth with a sight pusher. And then you can adjust the front sight post up and down, as well as the elevation. So what you do with that thing is, you use your front sight to get your true zero, and then you use your back sight for battle sight windage. That's the way that works. So what about the front sight? How's that work? Well, that doesn't work that way, that's for sure. Well, it works like this, just exactly the opposite of the rear sight. If you raise the front sight, okay, on a rifle, it lowers your bullet impacts. If you lower the front sight, it raises the bullet impact. If you move your front sight to the right, it moves your bullet impact to the left, and vice versa. If you move it to the left, it moves your bullet impacts to the right. Okay? So I thought I'd give a little, come over here today, zeroing this rifle, and just talk a little bit about zeroing guns. Just giving good basic information best I can. And that's good basic shooting right there. All right. I got a call from a fellow last night. He says, George, them groundhogs is back on my place. They're running everywhere. When the sun comes out, you can see them. They're over here and over there. There's one over in the barn. There's one under mine in my garage. There's one up on the back porch eating the dog's food. He says, you need to come over here and do something about it. And I'm like, yeah, we going to. Ooh, yeah, 50 yards, zero. We're on there. Well, it was a swing and that annoyed me, so I had to stop it. Let's go down here on this, and there's a chip of clay pigeon about the size of a quarter. You can just barely see it down there. You can't see it at all now. This old boy, when I first got it, it wouldn't shoot worth a hoot, but I put about 200 or 300 rounds through it and cleaned it routinely and run the barrel with a lapping compound. You actually get this compound, it's like it's gritty grease, and you put it in there, and what it does is it takes all the burrs off of the inside of the barrel, the little microscopic burrs that the rifling jig leaves behind, you know. Yeah. I think we're going to be all right here. Ooh, there's a whole clay pigeon laying there. Let's see what we can do with that whole clay pigeon. There's chips of clay pigeon down there now. Yeah. Boys. Yeah. We got her in now. All right, now. I got her zeroed with Winchester Universal. This is the 22 Magnum ammunition that used to be called Dynapoint. 22 Win Mag 45 grain, 550 feet per second, copper plated Dynapoint. What that is a copper washed bullet. Much in the same way a 22 long rifle is a copper washed bullet. It's a lead bullet and it's, you know, electroplated. So we're going to go up to my normal round that I normally shoot for groundhog, which is Winchester Super X 40 grain 1910. 40 grain semi-jacketed hollow point, 1910 feet a second, stated velocity. So again, whenever you change your round, your impacts are going to be a little different, and you're going to have to reset to some extent. So you get out there and zero that 30-06 deer rifle with 147 grain boat tail match ammunition, okay? And then you take it out there and you're going hunting with 180 grain jacketed soft point 30-06s, you may be out of the ballpark. So you simply have to go back and check your zero with the new ammo. That accounts for a lot of misses, is people not checking their zero with their new ammunition. So we're going to check our zero. Let's see our practical zero. A practical zero is the zero that you get when you're shooting at something, a game animal or something of that nature, or a steel target at 55 yards. That's your practical zero. See, that's all. All right, let's get over here. Let's see where we're at. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's see if we can hit that bullseye. Okay. 15 yards, it shoots about the same. Two in the same hole. Three in the same hole. All right, let's try it at 50 on a practical steel. Okay, we're good there. All right, let's try it on a different target. Slightly over it. Slightly over it there. Okay. There we go. Yeah. So there is a little bit of difference in it, but not enough for me to have to worry about. Now this rifle will be going after groundhogs pretty soon, and I might even go after coyote with it. It's a little bit too powerful for a squirrel gun, but it's taken a long time to get this rifle in to where it would function correctly. And sometimes it works out that way. Now, I bought the Henry lever action 22 Magnum, the nicer one with the checkered wood on it, and it was a perfect zero right out of the box. I was very happy with it, and it has shot good ever since. And that's been 3 years. Okay. This gun didn't shoot very good when it come out of the box. I couldn't get it to shoot consistently with anything. But all in all, we got her in there. Well, that's about the size of it. Like to take, share, fire, commentate, and subscribe. We got this old virus running around. Y'all be safe. You know, use standard precautions. Wash your hands, sanitize. Don't touch anything foreign that you don't have to. It's okay to touch your face, I guess, as long as you wash your hands first. Watch out for yourself. Y'all keep in touch with everybody. The nation's gone through this before. It will go through it again. It hasn't gone through it lately, okay? But our nation has survived this in the past, and we'll survive this one. You know, we're the greatest country and the greatest people on earth, and we take on all comers, even microscopic ones, and win. Y'all be safe. Be of good cheer. A great man that brought us through a very dark time in our history said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." All right then, we'll see y'all.